If you've been following me for a while, you know that I love sci-fi and that I love a great story in my video games. Well, a new title that just came out, Tacoma, attempts to blend those two. Did they succeed? Did I like it? Did I love it? Did it live up to the hype? Well, let's talk about that right now, shall we? So this is going to be my Rand's Indie Spotlight, my review for Tacoma, which comes out today, August 2nd, on Xbox One and PC. It is developed and published by Fulbright, and it retails for $20. Now, you may recall Fulbright's last game was Gone Home, which is kind of the pioneer of the walking simulator genre, and I use walking simulator in quotes. Tacoma is very much like that. Tacoma is a narrative adventure, but whereas Gone Home took place in an abandoned house, Tacoma takes place on a high-tech space station in the year 2088. Now, before we get into everything else, I'm just going to let you guys know that I will not spoil anything in my review, and the clips I've taken are from the very, very, very beginning of the game, so you won't get spoiled, I promise you. Now, the whole setup for the story is you play as Amy, and the Venturius Corporation has hired you to get their AI back. And why do they want the AI back? Well, something happened on their space station, and now the 6 people that worked on that space station are gone, and you are to come in there and kind of find out what happened and download the AI and get out. But as you progress through the game and you download the data, you kind of learn about the people, the crew, the 6 members that were on this station. You learn about their lives, and you learn about what happened leading up to this accident and what transpired afterwards. So at the heart of Tacoma is the facility's digital surveillance system, which has captured 3D recordings of pivotal moments in the crew's life on the station. And as you explore, you'll see these echoes, as they're called. These like multicolored digital wireframes around you. Purple, pink, green. And each one of those wireframes represents a character. So they're easily distinguished between one another. Now, when you come into a room, you download this data and it tells you how long ago it happened, and the act or the play will play out. You know, it'll commence, and characters will start talking to one another, and you hear all these different conversations. It really does feel like you're being a fly on the wall. Now, the cool thing here that I really enjoyed, it is really multi-path like story setup, right? So you come into a room and there's 6 characters, and they could each be having different conversations in 3 different spots, right? But the cool thing is that you can fast forward and rewind the recording, so you can hear each one of the characters' conversations at your own pace, at your own leisure. So it lets you explore all these different avenues, which I found really intriguing and one of the best parts of the game. Following a character as she goes and potentially tells someone what they should do, try to like muster up some courage to do something, but then as you follow her out, she starts having a panic attack. It's moments like that make this game special. Now, the game isn't terribly long either, just like Gone Home. This can be completed fairly quickly. I think I beat it in 2.5 hours, and I did as much as I possibly can. But the runtime of the game is going to be completely up to how you go about playing the game. You don't have to go and find all the different recordings. You can just get the main ones and move on. But I think you're doing the game a disservice, because there's optional recordings and the intricate environment that Fulbright has made that really gives more detailed background about the characters that you are basically kind of spying on. And that is what really makes the game. You can go into each of the characters' personal quarters, and it's littered with mementos from their current life, cards from boyfriends, girlfriends, and things like that, so you can read those and get a sense of who these characters are. And it's just a really, really interesting perspective on all that. How people deal with potential threats and things like that. Really cool. But that's kind of all the game really has to offer, is that story and the connection to those characters. Because this game, just like Gone Home, will not be for everybody at all. Some people will scoff at the 2-hour runtime. Some people will scoff at the $20. Some people will scoff on the fact that this game doesn't have any action and it doesn't have any puzzles. You just go to an area and you observe and you listen. And that is basically the game. Now, the voice acting is great. Really good, actually. Probably one of the better things about it. And I enjoyed the story. It was gripping. I sat down and played the game in one sitting in 2 hours because I was really interested in how the story was going to progress. Now, there are a few themes in the game that I felt that weren't exactly fully explored. Things like the corporation and stuff like the AI that weren't fully tackled, so that's kind of a disappointment. But there's some really cool character moments in this game that I think were quite interesting. Would I recommend this game? Yeah, I would. If you're a fan of the narrative adventure walking simulator, then I think this is one of the better ones. Not the best, because I feel What Remains of Edith Finch is a superior game in every category. And that's one of the things that I find Tacoma lacking in. Yes, the Tacoma's narrative is strong and helps push the story along because you want to find out what happened to these people on this space station. But I feel the game is lacking heart, an emotional core that I found so lovingly in something like What Remains of Edith Finch, and even to a lesser degree in Blackwood Crossing, which I find missing in Tacoma. So while Tacoma is a good game, borderline even on a great game, it just doesn't reach the heights of What Remains of Edith Finch, and that's kind of the standard I judge all these narrative adventure games on. Now, achievements, if you're looking for that, this is going to be an easy 1,000. I got them all easily in 2.5 hours, but there'll be guides up where you can get them in probably 45 minutes or so. The game looks fine, although it kind of, after a while, it kind of does get like lame looking at just the wireframes, because you'll be looking at that a lot. It does have some performance issues on the Xbox One, unfortunately. Sometimes the frame rate will stutter, and when you go from the different areas, from the anti-gravity central chamber to the engineering or the other decks, there will be the game just bottoms out on the frame rate. It's kind of a loading thing, but it's just bad there. So it has some performance issues, but all in all, I think the game is worth experiencing if you enjoy these type of narrative adventures. I enjoyed it more than Gone Home, but I don't think it's as good as some of the other games in this genre. I don't think it's as good as Firewatch. I don't think it's as good as Edith Finch. I don't even think it's as good as Blackwood Crossing. But hey, that's just my opinion. I do believe it's worth experiencing one time to get that interesting story, because I was compelled to finish it in one sitting, and I really enjoyed being the fly on the wall and seeing all these different conversations from all these different people in a different way. There's haven't been a game that has really done that before. But it's runtime short. It doesn't really fully explore all the themes that they try to get across, and it just doesn't have that emotional core, that emotional attachment that I was looking for in a game like this. So anyways, guys, I hope you enjoyed the review. As for the score for Tacoma, I give it an 8 out of 10. It is a solid game. It just doesn't live up to some of the other better games in the genre. But for fans of narrative adventures, I totally recommend you pick this game up, whether it's at $20, $15, or $10. It is completely up to you. Thanks for watching the vid, guys. I really appreciate everybody taking the time out of their day to check it out. And I will see everybody in the next video. Later.